Back on the show is Curtis Blaydes, who will be making his UFC debut April 10th against Francis Ngannou. And Curtis, right off the bat, congratulations. How long had this deal with the UFC been in the works?
It actually came together like 2 weeks after the last fight. They hit up my manager, and then we did it like same day. I said yeah, and we got it going.
Good stuff. It was just as simple like that. Let me ask you, when you got that fight, when you got that win, I should say, in RFA over Luis Cortez, at the time, did you think you were heading to the UFC at that point? Because that was a pretty impressive victory.
I knew there was a strong possibility, but I wasn't 100%. I thought I might have to wait until like June or July, but I'm happy it happened as early as it did.
And, what was the response like after your last fight? Because I definitely saw the finish. It was all over social media after you got that knockout victory. What was the response like after you got that win in RFA?
I mean, everyone was pretty hyped, pretty excited. I'm glad I put on a good fight that gave a lot of people a lot of things to talk about. So based on the responses to everyone, it was a good fight, UFC worthy.
Yes, absolutely. And obviously you got the contract. I got to ask, where were you when you found out the news that you got the contract with the UFC?
I was actually in Jersey, New Jersey, Atlantic City. I was out there. I was out there to watch my buddy fight for Ring of Combat. Chepe.
Chepe, Marcel, yeah.
Yeah, I was out there watching his fight, and we got the call like the same day. So I kind of had to wait. I didn't want to disrupt him, so I waited until after his fight to tell everyone else.
Good stuff. And who was the first person you told? I mean, obviously your manager knew, but was there anyone you remember that you talked to first once you got the news?
Oh, I mean, I told my girlfriend first.
Okay, nice.
My parents, and then a few of my close friends, but really like 7 or 8 people, because we knew about the deal, but we couldn't say anything until like a week and a half later, till we got the papers and everything, the contract and stuff.
Was that like the longest week of your life not being able to tell everyone? Because, this is something you've worked for your entire career and you can't tell anyone for a whole week.
Yeah, it was a struggle, but I was just happy I could tell like the few people I really did want to tell, and everyone else I didn't really mind waiting.
Well, you're making your debut in Zagreb, Croatia. Did you ever think in your MMA career you'd be fighting in Croatia? Because that's pretty cool. This is the UFC's first time they're heading there.
No, I never ever thought I'd go to Croatia. Maybe Ireland or England, but never Croatia. But I'm happy. I've never been out of the country, so this
Oh,
is,
really? Okay.
yeah, it's fun.
Have you talked to anyone that's maybe either been there or competed, overseas or anything like that to kind of get some tips?
Yeah, my little brother, he plays basketball at the University of Springfield. There's a player on his team. He's Serbian, and he was born in Croatia, so he kind of gave me a few tips and stuff about the country, everything like that.
Good stuff. Now, I should mention we are recording this on March 30th, so we're about a week or so out from the fight. When do you plan on actually going to Croatia and flying down there?
We're going to leave on April 5th.
Okay, gotcha. And have you talked with your team at all about how you'll adjust to sort of the time difference and everything like that?
No, I figured I'm a security guard, so my
That's right.
schedule is already weird, so it'll just have to adjust the best I can.
Right. Nothing you can't handle, though. I mean, working security,
Yeah.
you're always working kind of odd hours, so that's good. I mean, that's actually a bit of an advantage going into this fight. You mentioned you've never been out of the country, so I'm guessing you've never had to deal with sort of a time change, I guess, other than your work schedule, right?
Well, I've been out west to LA.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah. So
That's a
3 hours.
big time difference I've had to deal with, but it wasn't really that bad. I don't know how it's going to be when I go to Croatia, so we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know.
Good stuff. Now, you're taking on Francis Ngannou, like I mentioned off the top there. How do you think you match up against him?
He's a striker. I'm a grappler, so it's kind of the classic matchup everyone wants to see. So, but as I told you last time, I've been working on my hands for 8 9 months. That's all I do really. So if if it has to be a stand up fight, I'm prepared for that. If it goes to the ground, that's in my advantage, which would be easier. But if it does end up being a standing fight, I think I match up pretty well. We're both long. Um, my boxing is getting better. My kicking has gotten better, so I think I match up pretty well.
And did you have a chance to watch his UFC debut? Because I think a lot of people were really impressed with the performance he put on.
Yeah, I did watch it. He did pretty well. I was surprised at how composed he was when he got taken down. He didn't really panic. So obviously he's not a veteran in the UFC, but he knows what he's doing.
Now, as far as training camp goes for this fight, I know last time you mentioned you're training at Strong Style. Is that sort of where you've been for this camp, or have you done a bit of cross training? What's sort of been the preparation for this fight?
Well, since it was only 5 weeks, instead of me going out of state, I brought in two guys. My manager, he manages. I brought in a guy, Don Mays from Southern Indiana. He lives on the border of Indiana and Kentucky. He's a really good boxer. Like he's the best matchup, like the best look I could get on short notice. I actually think he's a better striker, which is only helped me prepare for Francis. And then we brought in another guy. He's a 205-pounder from New York. He's a really good wrestler, good jits, better striking than me. So both guys are pushing me with the striking. That's why I know I'll be prepared.
How do you see this fight ending on April 10th? Obviously, you two guys are going to throw some leather, but do you see yourself getting the submission?
Once you get to this level, it's for me. I'm not gonna be the guy who calls out like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Whatever happens, I plan on winning. So if it is a submission or a TKO or decision, doesn't matter. I just want the W.
And I know you're not looking past your opponent here, but is there anyone you're kind of looking at that you'd like to fight in the division right now? I mean, you're one of the youngest guys, if not the youngest guy, fighting in the heavyweight division right now.
Um, I mean, you always like you talk about it with your friends and stuff, but right now, ever since I got the fight with Francis, I haven't really thought about anyone else except him. But I guess if I had to say, honestly, maybe Cody East. He looks decent. He's got a pretty good record. I know he was recently just signed to the UFC, so I feel like he'd be a good matchup.
All right, well, Curtis, we're certainly looking forward to your fight coming up here April 10th against Francis Ngannou. Really appreciate you taking the time. Just remind my audience where they can find you on social media and give any thank yous or shout outs, man. The floor is yours.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Razor Blades 265. RAZORBLAYDES 265. And I'd like to give a shout out to my manager, Rick Guerrero at Mataleon, my coach, Mario Lozano at the UFC gym here in Chicago, and the guy who owns the gym, he lets me train there every day for free. So Mike Jabber and my training partners, Joshua Marsh and Don Mays, both of these guys are on the rise. They'll definitely be in the UFC right behind me within a year. And Eric Cotney, he's a recent sponsor of mine. I'd like to give a shout out to him too.